The Daily Report.
And we're talking biotechnology right now because a new survey ranks the UAE 40th in a global list of biotechnology hotspots. That is the highest placed Arab country. So what's the story so far? What's got us to these less than dizzy heights? And what has to happen for the UAE to climb even higher up that ladder? Well, to offer some insight, I'm delighted to say that joining us in the studio right now is Karl Feilder, the Chief Executive Officer of Neutral Fuels, which is a biotechnology company based here in Dubai. Karl, good having you with us. Thanks very much indeed for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me.
We'll talk about Neutral Fuels in a second and the work you're doing. First of all, let's look at this survey. The UAE ranking 40th in this global list of biotechnology hotspots. What do you make of that?
I think it's fantastic. I think it's a good sign that we're going in the right direction. Of course, we're starting from a very slow base, and it's something that reflects the efforts that people are putting in.
Biotechnology covers a multitude of things, doesn't it? From your perspective, being part of the biotech community here in Dubai and the UAE, how are you defining biotechnology?
You're absolutely right. I mean, it covers a vast variety of different things. I would define it as using naturally occurring substances and organisms to solve engineering challenges. And that really gives you the breadth of it. You could be using biotech to solve solar power. You could be using biotech to break down waste products. You could be using biotech for a whole bunch of different ways of improving our lives.
And of course, I remember a great fanfare 7 or 8 years ago when Dubai announced that there would be Dubiotech, which was a free zone dedicated to biotechnology. To what extent is it infrastructure like that that's encouraging companies like yours to be based here in Dubai and the UAE? And to what extent is it other factors?
Well, I think the first thing is we need a ready supply of open minds and creative minds. And that's where the universities and the other institutions have a great role to play. They really are fantastic at seeding the market with young, bright minds who are keen, enthusiastic, and who we can point in the right direction.
Masdar Institute of Science and Technology is one that springs to mind, but there are others, aren't there?
Yes, there are. I mean, Masdar is a great focal point for a lot of this stuff. We've actually just last year employed 2 Masdar graduates into our company, and they're just fantastic. They're really enthusiastic. They're in the right place at the right time.
Well, let's look at an example then. You are part of this trend, aren't you? Your company, Neutral Fuels, is based here in the UAE. It wasn't always that way, wasn't it? Just remind us how you ended up here and what it is you're doing in the UAE.
Oh, gosh, that's quite a long story, but I'll
in
try and
30
keep it
seconds,
down.
Karl.
We were running a couple of biodiesel programs overseas and thought that it was an interesting opportunity. I got the opportunity of working with the Dubai government about 2008, and they pointed out that there was no biofuel sector in the Middle East at all. And of course, everybody thought we were crazy. How can you do biofuels in a market that essentially has oil coming straight out of the ground? But it turned out that there was a lot of people who wanted to do things a bit differently, who saw the opportunities. We got special permission from the government of Dubai, and we opened up our business here as the first, and indeed today the only, licensed biofuels business in the whole of the Middle East.
So in layman's terms, what do you actually do here in the UAE? I hear your definition about what biotechnology is. Let's give us a practical example of when you and your boffins in white coats go to work on a Sunday morning.
Well, I mean, the easiest way of expressing it is that if you think about regular diesel that you put into your truck, that comes from vegetable and animal matter that died millions of years ago. What we do is we take vegetable and animal matter that didn't die millions of years ago, it died fairly recently, and we turn it into fuel. We use the same sort of pressure and chemical processes that exist underground to turn it into a fuel.
And where do you get the stuff from?
Well, there's actually a wide variety of sources. We predominantly use waste cooking oil at the moment, which is a vegetable oil that's gone through its useful life and come out the other side as a waste process. We've also got a couple of projects underway looking at the way we can use other organisms to break down waste matter and turn it into some useful fuel. So we're looking at enzyme technology for that. And we've also got a project underway where we're trying to grow some plants today that might actually be useful as a potential source for biofuels. Now, those plants have to grow in the desert. They have to grow in places where you wouldn't otherwise grow food. But they're interesting. I wouldn't say that they're necessarily totally viable, but they're certainly interesting.
McDonald's is a great example of this happening. I've read the flyers when queuing up for my Big Mac that all of our trucks that deliver the burgers to McDonald's around the UAE run on this kind of fuel. And you help them do that.
Absolutely, and it's a great example of a major global corporation taking this challenge very seriously. It's not about publicity for them, this is about doing the right thing. So they take their waste materials, deliver them to us, we turn them into biofuel, which we then put back in their trucks, and they use that to deliver all their food to all of the stores in the whole of the UAE.
Looking at biofuel and what you're doing, to what extent does subsidised petrol and subsidised gasoline and subsidised energy generally in the UAE and the wider Middle East present a hurdle and a headache to you in neutral fuels?
It is quite a challenge. It certainly rules out the chance of running bioethanol, which is an additive that you can put into petrol for your cars. That's just not going to be financially viable in this market. Whereas biodiesel is financially viable, it's a challenge. It's more of a challenge than it is in some places. If you look at diesel in Dubai today, it's at 95 US cents a litre. We're selling in our Australian factory diesel at $1.50 a litre. So you can see that there's quite a lot of direct and indirect subsidies that go on. That makes any clean tech, any biotech venture a lot more challenging in this type of environment.
So for people to be doing this, like McDonald's or any other organisation, or if Tim and I decide to convert our cars to biodiesel, it's essentially because it's the right thing to do rather than a money saver at this stage.
No, I think that all of our clients would say that they're saving some money somewhere or other. It may be that they're not getting a direct saving at the fuel pump, but they certainly get a fuel efficiency improvement. They also get some pretty interesting publicity as a result of it. As I say, McDonald's isn't in this for a big marketing campaign, but it is something. As you say, you picked up the flyer when you went to get your Big Mac, and we're talking about it now. So whether or not they're pushing this, there's somebody talking about it today, and it does good for the brand.
Yours is a global business. You were based in the UK, you've got a big operation in Melbourne, and a few years ago you decided to move to Dubai. You could have gone to any one of 39 countries, I guess, that rank higher in the UAE than the UAE in this ranking by Scientific American. Why didn't you choose those other 39 countries?
I think it was just the fact that there was a wide open opportunity here with a very entrepreneurially minded government. I mean, we ran into a government department at DED that was so enthusiastic about helping us. They helped us with the form filling, they helped us with meeting people, they helped us get all the licenses sorted out correctly. They were just so supportive. We did talk to other countries, we did talk to other governments, but they just weren't that enthusiastic. This spirit that exists in the UAE is something that is pretty unique.
I'm keen to paint a picture of, and I know I've been down this road before with you, but I'm going to go down it again, of what actually goes on at your facility. So much of the business that I do as a journalist here in the UAE is going to people's offices. It's insurance companies, it's banks, it's even if I go to a pharmaceutical company, it's a sales and marketing operation in Dubai Media City. What do you do on a daily basis, and where do you do it?
Well, you have to say it's a waste product conversion that we're doing. So we take oil that's come out of the deep fat fryers in McDonald's, which is in good condition compared with other oils, but let's face it, it's a waste product. We then put it in a machine, we warm it up, we mix it with some other chemicals, and we then basically turn it into a different type of oil, which is the biodiesel. We then filter it, we filter it, we filter it, and then we finally pump it out into the trucks. But it's people, labour, with the oil, of course, flows a lot better when it's warm. So today our factory is 40 degrees inside, so it's a hot environment and it's a very tough working environment.
Oh, we should send Tim down there with his tape recorder.
I have a feeling you shouldn't do that, to be quite honest. It's like a sauna by the sound of things. It's interesting though, Karl, how we could do it ourselves. That would be fine. I mean, McDonald's have oil sat aside. It's easy for them to send it off, and I guess you've got some reciprocatory deal to give the oil back, I'm guessing. But what would I need to do to my little old 4x4 to seriously think about running my car on biofuel?
Well, the challenge that we've got here is that for a long time diesel hasn't been of the best quality here. It's been quite a challenge. So a lot of the car companies simply won't import their diesel models into the UAE. And we've had meetings with all of the major brands, and they say, oh no, you can't run cars on the diesel that's available here. Now that's simply not quite right. Nevertheless, that has stopped them. Whereas in Europe, in pretty much every other car that you see on the road is running on diesel rather than petrol. But if you got hold of a diesel vehicle here, which you can, there's cars on sale, you could run that on biodiesel without making any adjustments at all. We've done somewhere over 2 million kilometres on the trucks that we're fueling without any modifications to them whatsoever.
My final question is this. UAE 40th on the list, this Scientific American list. Best in the region, but let's be honest, 40th isn't something to shout and cheer from the rafters about. What 2 or 3 things do you think has to happen for the UAE to climb up to 35th and 30th and then 22nd and so on?
We certainly need people to realise that getting involved at the academic level is very, very important. That's where all these bright ideas come from, is out of academia. But there's a missing link, and that's one thing which really does put us lower down on that table. Coming out of universities, there isn't the supportive environment for really embryonic firms here. We need to have seed capital in place. We need to be able to sponsor people out of the lab and into a business, and surround them with people who've done it once or twice before, so that they can help and coach them into becoming proper SMEs, and from SMEs they can become medium-sized companies and then world beaters.
Carl, it's been great talking to you. I really do appreciate you joining us in the studio this evening. Karl Feilder is the Chief Executive Officer of Neutral Fuels, a biotechnology and biodiesel company here in Dubai. Thank you indeed.
Thanks.